Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days, or today's second video. That's going to take us to around the 27th of December, so just beyond Christmas. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECMWF ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. And we'll have a look at the CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, taking us well into January. Talking of January, we've released the ECMWF 30-day look ahead this morning or earlier on today. So that's looking at the temperature and precipitation anomalies across not just the UK but the rest of Europe too for the next 4 weeks. That's the last one of this year. It will return on Tuesday the 7th of January. Got a Christmas update coming up for you tonight, so quite a busy day at Gas Service, but we're going to get on with your week's 10-day video update in a moment. Just to say a big thank you, though, before we do anything else, to our latest PayPal donor. So we've had a new donation for Gas Service through PayPal, and I'm going to say a big thank you to Richard Doig. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Richard Doig has become our latest PayPal donor. So a big thank you to Richard for doing that. Thank you so much, Richard, for becoming our latest PayPal donor. If you would like to become a donor for Gas Service, then all you need to do is come to the Gas Service PayPal page. This is it. I'm on that page right now. Sign into your PayPal accounts, and then you can give a donation, however much you want, to Gas Service. By doing that, you're becoming a donor for Gas Service, and we're going to give you a mention in videos if you want one. If you'd rather stay anonymous, that's absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. Just leave a little note with your donation to let us know that you'd rather stay anonymous. You'll get an email anyway when you make your donation, and we'll go over how you want the mention. But otherwise, yes, we'll give you a shout out. We'll say thank you so much for doing that. You might want to mention for your website or for your business. We've done that for a few people as well, so that's absolutely fine if that's how you would like the mention. Alternatively, you can become a patron for Gas Service. So we've got 64 patrons so far. Hello, and a big thank you to our 64 patrons. If you would like to become a patron for Gas Service, all you need to do is come to Gas Service Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, assuming you don't already have one, and then give an ongoing monthly donation to Gas Service. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards, and by doing that, you become a patron the Gas Service. And again, we'll give you a mention in the videos, and we'll say thank you so much for becoming a Gas Service patron. So when we do it through PayPal or through Patreon, you're going to get a mention, and we're going to give you a big shout out if you want one. So, a big thank you to all of our patrons, a big thank you to all of our donors, and a special thank you to Richard Doig for becoming our latest donor. Thank you so much, Richard, for doing that. Right, starting off the video then, Central England temperature, and we're halfway through the month now, of course. So, provisional up to the 16th of December, at the halfway point of the month, we stand at 5.6, an anomaly of 0.7 of a degree above average, so very close to average, really, a little bit above. And when we add on the downwards correction that we nearly always get at the end of the month, if we assume we're going to get 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree shaved off, then we're probably within half a degree of average right now. So hasn't been too far from average at all for this December, with a cold start, then a milder interlude, and recent days have gone rather cooler as well. This is probably going to tick down a little bit more in the next day or so, and then it will start to lift up in the second half of the week through to weekend as things turn milder. Where we finish up with this December will be determined by the last week of the month, I think. If that's mild, then it will probably be quite a significantly mild and average month, over a degree above average. If the last week of the month is cold, though, then I wouldn't expect a particularly big deviation from average. So this December really is up for grabs still in terms of where it finishes up. Been quite a strange year temperature wise. So we begin back in January very close to average, then we go really mild in February and March. Both of those months were exceptionally mild, especially so February 3 degrees above average, but March was also 2 degrees above average. Still very mild in April, over a degree above average. Then goes quite a lot cooler through May and June. Both of those months come out close to average. July and August then take off with the warmth again. Both of those months were very warm. Of course, that also encompasses the very hot spell that we had late in July, where we was breaking temperature records. Then the temperature comes down a little bit again in September, just a little bit above average in September. Then October, November, those are the 2 months that were colder this year. They come out a little bit below average, particularly October. November was basically very close to average. And then here we are in December, the last month of the year, and we're not too far from average at the moment, but it's still to be determined where this December is going to finish up. So we shall see. We'll keep a very close eye on that, of course, in the next week or two. The reason there's so much confusion about where we're going to finish up with this December CT is depicted by this, which is the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensemble graph for the next couple of weeks, and it does show us the great uncertainty that we've got really for the last week of December. So we're looking at Birmingham today. The red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Birmingham. We're starting off close to or a little bit below average at the moment. It's going to go milder in the next couple of days. So Thursday, Friday, going to be very mild. By the weekend, the temperature is coming back down close to average. That gets us to Christmas then. That's Christmas Day just there. And this is a point where we've got a lot of uncertainty for this last week of the month. So you'll see that the majority of GFS ensemble members through this last week of December remain above average. So we're generally favouring milder than average conditions for the last week of December, but we still have this significant, it is a significant minority option to go quite a lot colder. We have several ensemble members here that are going into what would be classed as genuinely cold conditions, going below -5 at 850 HPA. More of them sort of get down close to -5 at 850 HPA. So these ones are really cold. They're a minority, definitely, but more of them are going somewhat colder than average through this final week of December, but we can't, of course, discount the majority of GFS ensemble members, which are up here, and they're much milder, of course. So this last week or so of December, from around Christmas onwards, is causing all sorts of headaches within the model output at the moment, and I think you just need to wait and see where this is going. I think primarily this is down to a pattern change that is going to take place sometime over or after Christmas, going up towards New Year. I think we're going to get a pattern change towards higher pressure, which will probably dry things out. But where that high pressure sits is going to be very, very critical as to whether we turn mild and dry or whether we turn colder and drier. But some sort of significant change, I think, could well be on the way for this last week of December, which we've been talking about in the videos in the past few days. Precipitation-wise, a fair amount of dry weather through the next day or so, but the rainfall spikes are coming back later this week. From around Thursday onwards, turns much wetter, and then it stays very unsettled going up to Christmas again. That's Christmas Day just there. So this period here does look quite unsettled. Beyond that, after Christmas, overall, I think we can say have a bit of a drying trend. It's not completely dry. There are several of those ensemble members that are producing precipitation spikes, especially around the New Year. But I think you can clearly see that it is becoming drier there beyond Christmas compared to how it looks before and up to Christmas. So some sort of changes in the works here, I think, for the last days of December, but exactly how it plays out still very much to be determined. Temperature anomalies from the 17th to 25th of December, so from the 17th of December to Christmas Day, a little bit milder than average for many parts of the UK, particularly England and Wales, less so for Scotland and the Northern Ireland. Very, very mild week, though, coming up across most parts of Europe, and particularly these eastern parts of Europe, where we're up to 10 degrees or more above average. Have a look at the ECMWF 30-day look ahead for more about that. Precipitation anomalies from the 17th of December to Christmas Day, wetter than average for much of England and Wales anyway, nearer normal further north. The whole of Western Europe generally looks quite wet too, particularly so for Spain and Portugal, interestingly. Going to be plenty of rain coming up there. Eastern parts of Europe on the drier than average side. That's how the GFS is looking for Friday, and low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic on Friday. This is the midnight run of the GFS, by the way. I thought I'd show you both midnight and the 6 o'clock runs for this video. So low pressure coming in off the Atlantic on Friday with midnight GFS run, bringing outbreaks of rain with it. Into the weekend, very unsettled. Look at this low pressure coming in on Saturday through to Sunday. It's a midnight Sunday. Central pressure of that is around 965 millibars, sitting in the Irish Sea, so generally wet and windy over the weekend. Clearly into next week, this is the eve of Christmas Eve, Monday 23rd of December, and there's another system lurking down to the southwest. That's probably going to bring more spells of rain with it. That's Christmas Eve through to Christmas Day, so still unsettled up to Christmas Day. You see though the way pressure is generally coming up, so Christmas Day we're not actually with high pressure, but we are starting to get some higher pressure. Pressure going up to around 1,010 millibars as opposed to the 965 millibars that we have over the weekend. And that process continues into Boxing Day, so this now shows a little bit of a ridge up to 1,020 millibars building across the country. That will be settling things down, probably quite cold, certainly cold enough for overnight frost on Christmas night. Another little system then tries to work in from the Atlantic on Friday 27th of December. That could bring more patchy rain with it. And then we get a proper build of high pressure after that. So this is Saturday 28th of December, and a ridge then is well and truly building over the UK and trying to get itself up to Scandinavia as well, up to 1,030, 1,035 millibars. That's a big change. Heading up towards the new year, so this high pressure begins to intensify over Scandinavia. Looks like we're going to have a go at turning the winds into the east by the end of the year. And in fact, that's what we do. We get through to Tuesday the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, and we have got an area of high pressure that's taking over across Scandinavia. The wind has gone into the east, so all change, much drier of course, but also much colder with those easterly winds. They will probably start to drag in snow showers to eastern parts of the country for New Year. There'll be some pretty hard overnight frost as well. There's the upper air temperature showing we've got a deep cold pool sitting just to our east. What a change that is compared to how the upper air temperatures are looking right now. That's as far as we get to with GFS today. It's Thursday, the 2nd of January. Ridge of high pressure through the country, mate. It doesn't look like that east is going to last all that long, but it is a cold start to 2020. We have the -10 Celsius iceberg just working into the southeast corner. Bear in mind that's over 2 weeks away. It's very unreliable. What we've got to focus on is the pattern change towards higher pressure between Christmas and New Year. But exactly where that high pressure sits will be very, very important as to the feel of the weather, but it should dry things out a little bit anyway between Christmas and New Year. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. It's 6 o'clock run of the GFS, again looking very unsettled on Friday. These unsettled conditions continue into weekend as well. Deep low pressure bringing further spells of rain, meaning that the deluge goes on. This deluge started in late September. Here we are in the middle of December and still the rain continues. That's Christmas Eve, so again looking quite unsettled. There's some sort of weather front that's plaguing particularly England and Wales on Christmas Eve. That's probably bringing more spells of rain with it. That's Christmas Day to Boxing Day. Not as much of a build of pressure, you'll notice there. So just got another deep low pressure sitting to the west of us. That's going to bring another spell of wet weather over Boxing Day and beyond. So this is Friday 27th of December, day 10. Low pressure is in over top of the country. Now at this point the midnight GFS run was building high pressure strongly, but the 6 o'clock GFS run still carries on with the deluge. However, eventually, as we go between Christmas and New Year, we take the low pressure away to the east. We get a ridge building towards Iceland. That starts to allow cold air to dig in from the north. So we go drier and colder as we run up towards the New Year. And that's as far as we go, which is to Thursday, the 2nd of January. High pressure is building over Scandinavia again. Definitely having a go at turning wind into the east. It's a little bit slower getting to the Scandinavian high. But again, the hints are there that sometime between Christmas and New Year, it takes longer to do it, but sometime between Christmas to New Year, there is a bit of a pattern change there that turns things, yes, drier, but also potentially colder, particularly, of course, if those winds were to get into the east. This is the GM, the Canadian model. Again, we've got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic on Friday. The deluge carries on into the weekend with more deep areas of low pressure continuing to swing in from off the Atlantic Ocean. Over Christmas, so we tried to build some high pressure to the south and also to the northwest. That's a very messy pattern, but there's a weather front that's sort of stuck in the middle of it, in that sort of position. So we're attempting to build some higher pressure over Christmas, but it's probably up to Christmas Day anyway, still quite wet. Boxing Day, yes, we've got a bit of a ridge then across the country. That will probably produce overnight frost Boxing Day. Christmas night to Boxing Day, and then the Atlantic is coming back in by day 10, which is Friday 27th of December. Low pressure starting to work back in off the Atlantic. You'll notice the ridge is trying to move towards Scandinavia, a bit inconclusive with the GM about where that will go. Excuse me, the ECMWF is very unsettled on Friday and into the weekend. The deluge continues, more spells of rain, especially focusing on England and Wales. That's Christmas Eve in a week's time. Another low is coming in off the Atlantic, that bringing further rain, particularly to England and Wales. Once that gets out of the way, though, from Christmas Day to Boxing Day, we do try and build up a little bit of higher pressure. That turns things dry, probably quite cold. Could be some overnight frost there from Christmas Day to Boxing Day. And as we get to day 10, which is Friday 27th of December, we are trying to move another little low in off the Atlantic, but overall pressure is rising. So heights are rising. We're not particularly under high pressure at this point, but you'll see, definitely looks like we're sort of evolving into a higher pressure type pattern. So if we could go on beyond that for a couple more days, I suspect we would see a build of pressure that takes over pretty much over the top of the country, which would turn us drier, but also potentially a little bit colder between Christmas and the New Year. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from tameteo.com. Rain in the southeast today, winter showers in the north, otherwise a lot of dry weather, but it's very damp and the air is quite cold and stagnant. There's lots of mist and murk and fog patches around today. It's not a very pleasant day today. Overnight, well, we're probably going to see more fog, and then into tomorrow, wet weather gathers in the west. However, many northern central east areas will stay dry and quite cold. You'll notice winds are swinging into the south tomorrow, so as it turns wet in the west, it will also turn quite a lot milder. That rain then marches across the country overnight from Wednesday through to Thursday. Thursday keeps showery rain going across England and Wales. Some of that could be quite heavy. It's drier further north. And then into Friday, another pulse of very wet weather affecting many southern and eastern parts of the country. That looks like a bit of a deluge and could bring risk of localised flooding to eastern parts of the country Thursday through to Friday. That gets out of the way as we move into Saturday. We're left with showers, particularly in the south and in the west. Another low brings some quite wet weather into southern counties from Saturday through to Sunday. Lots of rain still to come as we get towards Christmas. This is Monday next week. Next system's coming in from the Atlantic. That's bringing heavy rain across many parts of the country, particularly focusing on Ireland, England and Wales with that. And there is a bit of snow involved there, especially for Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England, so maybe some snow on Christmas Eve through parts of Northern England. These are very unreliable, by the way, these precipitation type forecast charts, but it could be a little bit of snow there, parts of Northern England on Christmas Eve. That gets out of the way as we move through Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day. We go into something a little bit drier and probably quite cold as well, under a slight bump of high pressure. And then beyond Christmas up towards Boxing Day and then the 27th, you'll see how the weather systems are being pushed out to the northwest. So there is still rain around, but it's particularly affecting Northern Ireland and Scotland as we're moving up towards day 10, much less so for England and Wales. This is all indicative of the idea that some sort of high pressure is beginning to build, and these systems are being pushed further north and west with time. That's day 10, as far as we can go with the rain in the northwest and across Northern Ireland. But if we could go any further than that, I think we'll see this rain dying away as high pressure will build across the country. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 27th of December. So we have 24 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure taking over from the north, reaching down through the country. So these 24 members of the ECM ensembles actually have us under an area of high pressure by day 10, and are quite cold as well, as the wind would be coming in from the north to northeast with those. 19 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational run, that's the road I've just been talking about, trying to raise the heights a bit to the north and to the east, but still a bit on the unsettled side up to day 10, as we've already established. So still a bit unsettled with those 19, which does include the ECM operational run, and then 8 with high pressure building towards Iceland, low pressure over and to the east of the country. They're going to be quite cold and unsettled. Winds could be coming in from the northeast with those. And maybe a little bit on the wintry side as well, but it's a minority option, only 8 of those. And then in 2 weeks' time, which is New Year's Day, these are the options that we've got for the first day of 2020. 32 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure to our south-southwest, low pressure up to the north-northeast. Going to be reasonably mild with those. We're bringing the wind in off the Atlantic. And probably for the south anyway, a reasonable amount of dry weather too. 19 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure to the north of Scotland, so somewhere between Iceland and Norway, and maybe bringing in cold, maybe in very cold easterly winds. Those 19 members of the ECM ensembles would be giving us a wintry start to 2020. We would have easterly winds and possibly snow showers in eastern parts of the country. Very interesting, but that's a minority. 19 versus 32. It's a significant minority, but it's a minority nonetheless. Again, just the idea, though, that some sort of pattern change could be in the works here for this final week of December. Finally, the GFS V2, so these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 17th to the 23rd of December. The coming week continues the deluge, low pressure, still rolling in off the Atlantic, so still looking unsettled, and plenty of rain to come up to the eve of Christmas Eve, or Christmas Eve. Then we go through to week 2, which is the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, through to the 30th of December. Still looks unsettled, doesn't it? Low pressure remains over and to the west of the country. We continue to bring the jet stream in off the Atlantic. No sign of a change to anything particularly drier there, you would have to say, up to the 30th of December, weeks 1 and 2 looking very unsettled with the CFS today. That's week 3, which is New Year's Eve, 31st of December to the 6th of January. And yes, you've guessed it, low pressure still keeps coming. We're lining the jet stream up northwest to southeast, so it is a bit colder as we're drawing the air in from sort of Canada and Greenland and far north of the Atlantic. But nevertheless, it's still the idea, but it's very unsettled there, even into the new year. And week 4 rounds it all off. The CFS is not interested in any pattern change towards higher pressure, just wants to keep the low pressure going. This is week 4, the 7th to the 13th of January, and yes, the below average heights, the low pressure continues to move in from the Atlantic, bringing further outbreaks of rain. And we're up to the middle of the winter then, halfway through January, and there's no sign of any change towards higher pressure. Just looks very unsettled, possibly quite chilly with the wind coming in from the northwest, but the CFS is not interested in any way whatsoever in a pattern change to drier but perhaps slightly colder conditions. However, within the shorter range, the hints are there. That's not to say we will see a change during the last week of December, something drier and potentially a bit colder. We may not do. It could be that the CFS is right with this continuation of the deluge even into the start of 2020. But as long as the shorter range is playing around with this idea of some higher pressure, then we need to take the possibility serious anyway, because it would be quite a significant change on what we've had really since late September. So we're just going to have to wait and see. More runs are needed, and all will be revealed in the days ahead. We could be in for a change to something drier, potentially a bit colder between Christmas and the New Year, but at the moment it is still all to be determined. So we'll be keeping you updated on this, of course, in future videos in the next few days. We've got the latest Christmas update coming up for you tonight. I think that's the 17th. So that will be with you probably around 7 o'clock this evening. Don't forget to check out the ECMWF 30-day look at it. It's the last one of the year. That'll be back on the 7th of January. Tomorrow we've got the 5-day forecast and another week's 10-day video update coming up for you tomorrow as well. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.